Okay, let's have a chat. There is a trigger warning of sexual assault, so if that is you, please look after yourself and don't watch the video. So obviously we have seen in the media and on social media as well that of people, women, coming out about their stories and experiences of sexual assault, rape, being stalked, being followed, and just a load of different violent and dangerous behaviour from the hands of men, right? From the hands of us. And I see a lot on social media of women calling out men to speak up on this, and I haven't seen a lot of that, honestly. So I feel like as a voice of reason, I want to try and speak about it, and I want to try to be real with it. I want to show my empathy for the women that have experienced this. And I want to shed some understanding to the men who I want to just try and create a narrative. Because in the media now, it's kicked under the carpet, right? It was hot in the media and now it's gone, right? So that's why I wanted to wait until everything kind of quietened down a little bit before I made a video like this, because I knew that it would kind of go quiet after a while. So I don't have anything written down, so if my mind gets a bit scattered or there are kind of patches of silence, then it's just me thinking. But what I really want to get to is why this keeps happening and why it has been happening for the longest of time. This is not a new thing. It's not a new thing. Women have always, I suppose, felt this way. And if I'm wrong in anything that I'm saying, please let me know. I'm not going to claim to be right in everything that I say, but everything is just my understanding of things. So it was heartbreaking, honestly, to see so many people come out and with their story and read their story and hear their stories and just know that it's by us, it's by lads, it's by men. It's disappointing, honestly. It's really fucking disappointing, because it shouldn't be happening. Like, the fact, I think the most heartbreaking thing was the amount of girls and women saying how scared they are to walk home after dark or at night or anything like that. That's not normal. That's not fucking normal. That they should fear to walk home alone. And I never really thought about it this way, because I never had that fear. So I never had to think of that. But when I heard it and I saw it, it's crazy. I put up a poll of the similar subject, the same subject, and some of you have been, carrying knives since you were, or knives or scissors or something, since you were 13 to protect yourselves. So what I'm really trying to boil it down with too. And if your response to this at the end of the video is, what can women do? Nothing. Don't. If you're a girl or if you're a woman watching this, please don't do anything. You've done enough. You've done too much. This is something that we have to fucking sort out, because we are the perpetrators, right? If we're calling it like it is, and that's what it is, right? So there's no other way to excuse the fact that the reason why this type of abuse, this type of thing that happens on women is inflicted because of men. And if your excuse to that is women shouldn't be wearing this type of clothes, women shouldn't be so and so, get the fuck out, because that's not the case. And if any woman said to you, like, you shouldn't be wearing that, we'd flip the fuck out. We'd say, you know, how dare you tell us what we can and can't wear, like, wear, whatever. Anyway, so this is something that us as men have to address. And I haven't seen a lot of lads come forward with it. I know, yeah. And I know in the age of social media, a lot of us have this mindset of, I just want to get on and do my own thing. You know, I don't want to be bothered with this other stuff. And that's fair enough. If this video is not for you, then that's fair enough. You don't have to watch it. But I'm just trying to boil down, how can this stop? Because it needs to stop. It needed to stop a long time ago, but it needs to stop even more so now. So what I'm wondering is where this behavior and where this attitude stems from. So when a woman is walking home alone and a man thinks, I'm going to follow her all the way, what is going through that man's head that thinks this is acceptable? And this is an important question, because we have to address why that person thinks that. That's a dangerous mindset. That's a dangerous behavior. And I think when you look at a lot of things, when you look at a lot of stuff like this, it's usually, a lot of it is linked down to childhood, education, and parents. And upbringing as well. So I know you can't really go through the kind of parental attitudes of every person who has perpetrated a heinous crime like this, but it's somewhere to look. Another area to look is education. I know that the education on stuff like sexual assault, on behaviour towards women, and on other stuff like periods, contraceptives, is extremely outdated, and it shouldn't be. So there needs to be an educational reform there. So basically, what we need to do is start teaching the young boys, the younger lads that are growing up, and, you know, putting them aside, like taking them to the side and saying, listen, this type of behaviour is not cool. You really shouldn't do it. because that's not something that I was taught in school, but it was just common sense, which is not so common anymore. But that wasn't something that was there. That wasn't something that was in school for lads. And I feel like if that's not there, then some lads might not have that concept of common sense, and some lads might have a negative behaviour towards women. So I think you need to nip that in the bud early. And there needs to be some, I don't know who to go to. I don't know what the answers are. I don't know who you go to about it to say there needs to be some sort of program that can teach young boys growing up, saying this is not acceptable behaviour to do these things, to have a whole educational reform around consent and everything like this as well. Because a lot of lads are finding out through Instagram of different things like, oh, that's not acceptable, I didn't know that. But that's not enough. That it needs to be something that the young lads growing up now need to be taught. So maybe eventually we can reduce those instances from happening. And at least if it's in the educational kind of bubble, if it's being taught at home, it can be stomped out in school, if that makes sense, you know? So at least if there's parents that have a negative attitude towards, I don't know, each other or women in general, it's very possible. But at least if that's the case, and that child goes to school and then learns that behaviour is actually not okay, then that's a good thing. That's progress. But for the time that we're in at the moment, we need to also just fucking stop. Like, straight up, just fucking stop. It's weird. It's dangerous. It's disgusting. Yeah, it's not something that you should have to. It's not something that girls as young as 12, like, what the fuck? As young as 12 upwards being catcalled. And I know for a fact there's even worse things than being catcalled going on. And that's a horrible, horrible thought. And I know this might seem a bit scattered or might seem a bit slow, but I'm just trying to really wrap my thoughts and grasp what I'm saying before I say them. So, I suppose the bottom line is we need to do better, right? So, the ladies, the women, the girls, and everything in between, relax, right? You've done enough. You've done too much. It's not something that you should have to be fighting, but I know it is something. I feel like we can do more, right? And not have this attitude of, I just want to do my own thing. Like, if we actually paid attention to this, then it can spread around a little bit more, you know. And I think it's important that I address it. Now, I don't know how long this video is going to be, because there is a lot of things that need to be said. And not just in terms of sexual assault and this type of thing, but there's other stuff as well. There was the Asian hate crimes and the racism and everything else like that. Stuff like that. There's so much things that needs to be just talked about. But maybe that's for a different day. But for now, I want to share my deepest empathy, my deepest apologies on behalf of all of us men who want to see you thrive, who want to see the ladies do well, who don't have a single bit of hatred for you. I want to apologize on behalf of us that wished whatever happened never happened, and that never happens again. And it shouldn't. So there's things to be taught. And the thing is, it's not that fucking hard. It's not that fucking hard. It's a bit of self-control. You know what I mean? And a little bit more cop on. You know? I mean, you see the statistics that say that 97% of women are either sexually harassed or assaulted in some way. And I see comments from people saying, let's aim for the other 3% and all this stuff, right? That's fucking worrying right there. That is worrying. But that's like every woman that I know, and that probably all of us know, have experienced something because of men. You know? So if by the end of this you're thinking, what can women do? You know? What can we do? Like, genuinely, what can we do to... The one thing we can't do is to just sit down and say, it'll blow over. Because it won't. And that's happened time and time again. You know, where we can't sit back and go, sure, look, it's not really in the news anymore, so it doesn't matter too much now. That's not the case. That is not the case at all. This shit happens the whole time. But if it happened, now I know it does happen to men, but if it happened on the scale that it happens to us, that it does to women, there'd be fucking outrage. There'd be absolute fucking outrage if it was on the same scale. So I don't think it's fair to kick it under the rug and say it'll pass by as if it's nothing. So, with that being said, lads, we can do better. We can do a lot better. And here's something else, right? And I think I'll let this be one of my last points before I fuck off. Masculinity, as we know it, is changing. It's changing. So, our perspective of masculinity is probably has a lot to do with stuff like sports and being massive and repressed feelings. But it's an outdated type of masculinity that is no longer healthy. It was the normal. It was a kind of status quo normal to think and be like that. And this, I'm not saying you can't be fucking huge, right? I'm not saying you can't be huge. I'm not saying you can be good at sports or whatever. But having these negative emotions, you can't have that. It's not sustainable. It's not healthy. Especially when the output of those negative emotions affect the lives and the danger of women. So the new, masculinity is changing. And I suppose you can be all those things, but be understanding. Be understanding, and just talk to your friends about this type of stuff. And it's alright to talk about this type of stuff as well, you know. It's nothing that you can't chat about like it's anything else, you know. But I feel like that's where a lot of that negative energy is coming from. That masculinity, toxic masculinity, not just masculinity, toxic masculinity, has this aura of repressed feelings. And that's dangerous. And that's very, very dangerous. So, it's something that we can definitely work on. It's something that we can definitely work on. All right. Yeah, I think that's enough. If you made it this far of watching this video, then I want to thank you for watching. And I hope something of what I said hits home, and I hope enough people see this, that there's some sort of narrative and some sort of something done from us now, that we kind of come together and say, alright lads, this is not fucking cool. It never was cool. Stop doing it. Right? I know we have a lot of shit going on right now. We're like lockdown and all this other shit I won't even mention. But in comparison to the amount of things that I found out that women have to worry about in just a day-to-day shouldn't be the case. They shouldn't have to worry. We shouldn't be trying to intimidate them. We shouldn't be trying to stalk them. We shouldn't be trying to force ourselves on them. We should be trying to, if anything, protect and just not be a threat. It's not that hard, right? It just takes some common sense. You know. I'm gonna leave the video there.